Hello, hello, hello. How you do? I'm the baker man serving you bread.
Episodes of the day because we are on video. We have some new musical presence here, and guess what? I'm super excited. My guest is super excited, and you should be super excited too, because we're bringing it to you live from Brooklyn College on Thursday, March 12th at 2:05 on the PM. So, without further ado, let's get started with a couple things that are going on in Brooklyn College that we like to call next week's specials. On March 17th, Brooklyn College is holding a Pi Day event. Yes, the inquisitive exclamation is intentional because on March 17th, not March 14th, there will be a Pi Day celebration hosted by the Mathematics Club of Brooklyn College from 12:30 to 2 p.m. at Ingersoll 1310. So, if you miss Pi Day like I do every single year, well, guess what? Here's your chance. Go seize that pie, you know? On the same day, March 17th, we have a ASL Basics Lesson number 1 held in the Occidental 5th floor of the Student Center over at Brooklyn College from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. So, what better way to connect with students of the school than learning another language? And this language involves something a lot of people have, hands, you know? So, if you want to learn how to use your hands in a beneficial way that helps, communicate better with others across the BC community, there's another chance to do so. Next week is also a very special one because we're all in the midst of a new midterm season, and we're all in the midst of a new midterm season, and there's a lot of things that are going on that might stress each other out. Is it okay if we can restart?
We're live, brother.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, dang it.
It's all good.
All right, so, yeah. Next week is midterm season, and it is pretty stressful for a lot of students. So why not go to do some yoga? There's going to be a yoga session held in 205 West Quad on March 18th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. held by the Immigrant Student Success Office. I've advertised the yoga club before, and I'm going to do so again because it is a very great way to have some nice physical release from the day in and day out stresses of school life and probably personal life as well. And with that, you could check out all these events and more on Campus Groups and Bulldog Connection. Campus Groups is an app that I recommend to all the listeners of WBCR and Tip of the Hat for discovering different events, clubs, and activities happening around Brooklyn College. And Bulldog Connection is the website form of that where you get even more information straight from the source on these activities as well. So check those out under your own volition. Wholeheartedly recommend it. And yeah, just enjoy what you see. Let me know if you experience something really well, and I can shout it out on the show if you ever come along to it. And that brings me to introducing our lovely guest. No, our spunky guest. No, spontaneous guest, Miss Iram. Say hi to everybody, Iram. You're on.
How's it going, everybody? This is Aram 6, coming at you live from the BK, where you can have it your way pretty much any day. Sitting next to my man Bourne right here.
Whoop whoop!
Yep. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for coming. When you said BK, I thought it was like have it your way.
That's exactly. Yeah. I hope we don't get sued for that, but
I don't think we'll get sued. I think they need the publicity. Anyway, so Iram and I have actually had some history together as part of the music program, music department at Brooklyn College. Iram has a great deal of experience in the creative arts and with electric music, as well as sound design and her own musical pages and tracks outside of the school. That's what we were just cueing you into with today's track. Could you tell us a bit about that track?
Yeah, it's called Live Moss, and it's just like a fun, energetic kind of techno beat, and I am a big fan of like percussive elements like hand percussion and such, so tried to incorporate loops like that in there. Different samples. Liv Moss. I was thinking of a friend of mine who really loved Taco Bell. And I was just sitting in there and I was like, dang, I wish we could have gone to like a set together or something. This friend is no longer with me, but I was thinking of them and I was like, what's something fun that he maybe would have liked? And yeah, so I just kind of went with that idea and ran with it.
For the music that you made separate from Liv Moss, were those also inspired by like, you know, people across like, you know, your personal experience?
No, music to me is very like it. Sometimes I sit down and I'm like, I know what I'm trying to do, or I want to, I guess, kind of practice like, oh, I really like this artist really inspired me. What element can I take from a song that I like from them and try to recreate it sort of for my own like practice and sound design, you know? But when I'm making music, a lot of the time it comes to me and then I can't even really explain it without sounding a little nuts, but like truly it comes to me and then my job becomes like, okay, let me hurry up and like run somewhere and record it, or let me jot the idea down, like how can I translate what I'm hearing in my head and turn it into a tangible, shareable format. So that's my job as the artist, I guess.
And I do think that being part of the creative arts department allows us to be a little bit nuts as a job, you know? Like, so definitely many of the things that I've done in my time, like being a creative, is not very level-headed. Like, but it all feels okay it all feels both okay, but also completely foreign to me at the same time. Like every day that I go into my own personal studio and just like try to create something based off of like either the heart, something I experienced that day, or a past experience that I want to give some more attention and some more gravity, like over the headphones. Like I don't typically think about the rationale of it. More so, I just think about how I could best convey that with the techniques that like I know, and you know, since I'm always learning different ways to express musical thoughts and ideas, there's always a sense of progress to be made whenever I go and make something brand new, which is part of the fun of doing this line of work. But more on music and more on you at the same time. Tell me a bit about why you chose music as your educational path and what events might have led up to that decision.
So the irony is that music is my passion, but it's not my major. My major is TV and radio, and my minor is music tech.
No way.
Yeah, way. And I decided to do it that way because I really love audio and visual mediums. I think there's a lot you can do with that in today's world. It's all, to me, storytelling. Like, you can use audio to tell a story, music to tell a story, and then, of course, like, visual stuff. And I just wanted to be well-versed in it, more versatile. So I that's why I decided the educational path that I did. But music and just being, like, a creative person in general, I was telling you this the other day, like... I tried really hard to be a normal person just for like, I guess like stability or like the illusion of stability purposes, you know? It would have been so much easier if I was like, and this is like no shade to anyone going down like a more traditional career route or educational path at all, like respect. But for me, every job that I've worked in or every major that I had that wasn't this, I would be into it for a second and then I would just find myself being like wildly depressed and not really understanding why. And then I eventually realized that it was because I was suppressing who I actually am, and I was doing more of like what was expected of me, if that makes sense. Like my parents had a very heavy education, or heavy emphasis on education, I mean, and wanting me to pursue something like medicine or law school, so, or teaching. I've been an English major. I've been a physical therapy major. I've been so many different, like, I think I changed it like 5 times before I was finally like, all right.
Class chameleon.
Sorta. I just eventually stopped running from myself and what I actually like, and I just embraced it instead. And truthfully, I have no idea where this path will lead me, or I have a general direction of where I would like to see things go, of course, but like there's no guarantee. You really don't know. But to me, it's I would much rather live like this than the other thing that I was doing. And it just feels more true to me, and living in a way that feels true takes priority to me, because life is very short, and I know that we don't really talk about it much. It's kind of taboo to talk about just the brevity and fragility of our own mortality, but it's something that I have a very up close and personal experience with. Just a lot of grief and loss and just changes in life, because it doesn't always have to be like straight up death. It could just be like sudden changes and things that you weren't necessarily expecting or planning for, but life does its thing. And yeah, I just if I were to go today, even though no one knows who the heck I am, and my last song that I spent days on got like 2 streams, I would still be content, because I lived as closely to myself and my values as I possibly could at this time in my life. And to me, that's what it's about. Of course, there's like the reality of like a girl's got to eat, right? And you need to pay your bills. And I'm not knocking that, but it's... Sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but is this answering your question?
You know you're on a radio show, right? Rambling is like kind of like...
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. I don't want to... I don't want to...
No, it is like, yeah, that actually just means that I asked, like, either I asked a really good question or you just had like a really good answer. Either way, it's like, one thing that I enjoyed about our past conversations that I really wanted to emphasize on the show is this emphasis on being sincere.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like, in a way that not only in a way that you are aware of, but also trying to exhibit that to the people that you speak to the places that you work at, and to the lifestyle that you lead, and the music or any kind of creative works that you create. Any work that you do, you try to demonstrate that sense of sincerity, and I don't even want to say self-assurance, because like I think that's also something that I feel has sort of been misconstrued by like the general public,
mm-hmm.
And like the societal expectation of like being sure of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that anyone is sure of themselves, and I think we got to stop lying to ourselves. It's okay to be unsure about where you're at or what you want to do, and it's okay to acknowledge that sometimes a change is good, even if the adjustment will take a bit of effort and a lot of difficulty, struggle.
Yeah, so I am of the belief that the true nature of things is change, and it is motion, and we as people enjoy routine stability because it gives us like this sense of control, right? But in all actuality, I mean, like, look at what's happening in the world, right? Like, you can't, there are so many things that you can't control and that you don't necessarily have a say in. Like, why not take full agency over the things that you do have a say in? That's how I feel about it. So, like, for me, it's like, I really believe in music beyond, like, it's not just about, I make dance music, you know, so it's not just about like having fun or like turning up or whatever. For me, I have found so much healing and community in dance and in just music. I have met some of the coolest people at concerts and music festivals, and I want to contribute to that atmosphere with my own sounds. And I know that they're a bit rough around the edges just solely because of, like, I don't have $1 million studio, and you know, I'm still obviously there's still more to learn always, but
Some of us are still recording our stuff in the closet, like.
right, yeah, like, but you know, I used to think of that as like kind of a handicap, or like from like a judgmental point of view, because like your natural instinct is to assess your stuff with the things that you like, or like a artist that's already like professional, made it, they're on a label, you know, like the instinct is to compare your own sound with what's already out there, and that's not a fair assessment, right? Because it's like they have access to things and they have like you don't see the years of experience that went into the making of that sound. So if anything, I just kind of learned to appreciate where I am and just where like being here with you and like the process of the journey, you know, like it's really something. I don't know if I have the language to articulate it quite yet, but I love music, man. I really do. And I just feel very grateful and blessed that I'm in a position to pursue it and that I finally have the confidence to do that, like, on my own, you know? Because, again, like how I was raised, this was like a hobby. Like, this was something that you did, like, in your own time. It was never looked at as something that I could actually do. And now that I'm there in that perspective where, like, I don't need anyone to validate that for me, I give myself that. I'm just very grateful to be here, you know?
There was one of the things that we talked about, like that you briefly mentioned, was this sort of generational, like, this generational inconsistency with, you know, the idols that we see on social media, like portraying these sort of perfect lives, perfect faces, and how, like, not too long ago that wasn't even like an issue. Like, I don't typically like to pass blame or like dodge accountability, because that just goes against my own personal principles.
Right, same.
But there is a degree to like acknowledge when, like, talking about how the youth of today does sort of have a disadvantage when it comes to, like, pursuing, like, their own personal truth, because they're constantly being juxtaposed as to what, like, the truth of the world should be on every place that they view social media, television, or
Right.
people they speak to, with all different agendas and incentives. Do you see music as as a sort of outlet for displaying your personal truth, or are you still finding that there is work to be done in getting that message across?
So definitely. I mean, like, there are songs that I have not released out into the world because they are so personal and, like, raw, you know? But that's one of the things that I love about music, because we all have a truth and a story, right? And sometimes when you go out into the world, you kind of keep it hidden in a way, or you're not so vulnerable, or you can't be, or perhaps it's riskier maybe if you are. Like, you don't want anyone to, like, take advantage of your vulnerabilities or, like, judge you or whatever the case might be. But music has given me an outlet to just be really raw, and I appreciate that so much. So that's, like, the first part of your question. And then what was the second part? I'm sorry.
Well, the second part was, do you feel like for you there's still more work to be done in getting the message across of your own personal truth, which you did sort of answer, like, with the whole, like, I haven't released music yet because this stuff is, like, very identifiable by me, and I'm not sure if, like, I guess I don't know if it's either the world is not ready for it yet or I'm not ready for it yet, but
Maybe both.
I think
Maybe a little bit of A and B. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking all the above. Like,
Yeah.
Not to, no, I'm not gonna even say that. Yeah, I'm gonna plug this stuff. Recent, like, your story reminded me of a recent work of mine that I'm mulling over getting it released. It is my second studio production. It's called The Doo-Wop: Tales of a Synthetic Depression. The first single for this record, like, I already released a little while ago. It was called Waffle House. And, I want, like, and I'm going into a huge, like, part of introspection with this record, because a lot of it has to do with analyzing some lessons that I learned coming into young adulthood, and sort of, like, trying to get a handle on the world around me, with a lot of changes happening, like, along the way. And I guess the biggest challenge of doing it with this album is, aside from just doing the album itself, which is, like, a whole can of worms to get into, it's approaching these sorts of topics with the potential of being very heavy and, like, personal, with a level of respect and tact. Not just saying, like, oh, this happened to me, this sucks, but actually trying to mold it into a lesson that I can revisit whenever I might be feeling these things again, and understand how I got into it, and get a hint on how I can get out of it again.
Yeah.
So my last record was, like, much more positive. It was Absolute Music. Bourne Rios followed today. Gonna take over the world someday.
Of course, no doubt about it.
And that album was much more of a celebratory record on, like, how far I've come in like the creative field, world of music, and like what impression I want to leave with my newfound involvement in this field. And now this album is a complete freaking, like, undiscovered, uncharted territory onto just, like, who I am becoming, and learning to understand that person a bit better, because I think we're a little long overdue for that. And I'm, like, I think that based on like the discussion that we've had previously, that, like, exploring this like sense of understanding with, like, your identity and what you want in the world, beyond the obstacles that you face, either, like, academically, vocationally, or even familial, like, challenges, that, the key to finding that peace within yourself comes from a little bit of sincerity and a lot of understanding. So what impact do you want to leave on Brooklyn College and the world at like?
Wow. I am a bit humble in terms of like the mark I leave and stuff like that. I would just say in general how I live my life is I try to be a positive force because there's so much like I'm a person and I definitely have days and I am not perfect and I am a villain in someone else's story, I'm sure. But I'm
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, like but I'm human, you know? And I think like you were saying earlier about authenticity, I try to every interaction that I have with a person, I want them to feel like they had a real interaction with a person that day, you know, because it was like I think we get very locked in on like autopilot stuff or generic responses to conversations and things like that. And I just everywhere I go, I try to look people in the eyes. Hey, how you doing? Like stuff like that. Just let people feel seen, you know, and heard whenever we are able to get into some kind of discourse. Not for any selfish reason of like I want to be well known or probably like I don't think of it like that. I just think of it as life is short, and I think everyone deserves to feel seen and heard. And with anything that I do, music, conversation, writing, whatever it is, I just want to provide more experiences like that for people to feel seen and heard for who they are, where they are in life. And yeah, I found a lot of that in music and in communities related to music, and I just want to contribute to this medium that's given so much to me in that same way.
On that note, where can the good people find you?
You can follow me on the gram, which is short for Instagram, you know, at
For those
Iram6.
uninitiated.
Right. That's Iram6, EIRAM.6, SIX. That's my Instagram handle. I have a link in my bio there where you can find me on Substack. I just started writing about music because I really like it. And yeah, if you would like to email me or anything like that, you can email me at Iram6, EIRAM.6, SIX at proton.me. I'm also looking to have my own show here on Brooklyn College Radio.
Don't
you
steal
know?
my audience.
Oh, absolutely not, bro. You need to come on my show. Actually, that's the leeway into that.
Oh yeah, that's a lock. Well, so thank you so much to Iram for coming on today. I tip my hat off to each and every one of you for watching. Thank you to WBCR. And with this, I leave you with this quote. The path to inner peace is led through sincerity and genuine understanding.
Thank you for having me, man.
And thank you for being here. You all have a wonderful week. I hope to see you around campus next week. And thank you so much for joining us once again.
All right.